Ciao and welcome to the channel. Today I will be making one of my favorites. It's a Mediterranean chicken rice bowl with halloumi and tomatoes. It is very simple to make, takes about 10 minutes to prepare, 40 minutes altogether, and it tastes absolutely wonderful. Before I start, very quickly I run you through the ingredients. I've got some cherry tomatoes, garlic, bay leaf, also lemon, sprigs of rosemary, this is oregano, and I will be using also some parsley which I keep in the freezer. This is a halloumi. You can substitute halloumi with feta cheese if you like, or even mozzarella. On the rice front I will be using basmati rice. You can substitute it with the long grain rice if you like. Obviously a couple of chicken breasts, also you can use chicken thighs if you like. Here I've got a pot with some chicken stock which I made before, and whenever I cook chicken on a Sunday, for example for a Sunday roast, I always keep the carcass, I put a bay leaf, water, and make some chicken stock, and then I keep it in the freezer. So this is something which I've just defrosted. Olive oil, salt and pepper, and that is pretty much it. The first thing to do is to marinate the chicken. However, this is something which I've just defrosted and has got a lot of water. So I want to make sure that I'll remove it, and I'm going to dry it with some kitchen paper first. Olive oil, salt and pepper, and I'll combine everything together so that the chicken is totally marinated. A little olive oil on a griddle, and I'll spread it around using a brush. Temperature medium high, and I can add the chicken. And this will take about 8 minutes altogether, so 3 to 4 minutes per side. Chicken is very tender as meat goes, so after the first minute I always go underneath to ensure that it doesn't get stuck to my griddle, and that will be much easier to turn it around later. Just like this. Make sure that it moves quite freely. Time to turn the chicken around, and as I'm cooking it on a medium high, you get these beautiful markings from the griddle which will look stunning on the plate later on. Another 3 or 4 minutes and it'll be ready. As my chicken breast is quite thick, one thing I do is to turn it on its side, and that will also help the cooking process. But you can also slice it in half like this if you want, and I'll cook considerably quicker. I like mine chunky, so I'm leaving as it is. I've been checking it on and off, and I think it's ready. A way to check it, by the way, is to pick the thickest part of your chicken and just go in with a knife like this and squeeze it to ensure that there are no pink juices coming out. I'm very happy that mine is done, so I can turn it off. And in any case, it will continue cooking while the heat is off, but I'll add a little olive oil now and a pinch of oregano on top, and I'll leave this to cool down, and it will marinate and it's ready for later. In the meantime, I'll make a start with the rice. So some olive oil in a frying pan. I'm using a garlic crusher today, so a couple of cloves go in and they can be added. Temperature medium high. As soon as the garlic starts sizzling, do not leave it too long, otherwise it will burn. I'll add my rice and I'll mix it in so that it's coated with the oil and the garlic. And I'll mix it for a good minute until I'm satisfied that the rice is slightly roasted and that the bottom of the pan will need to be dry. A bit like this. Here, this is dry. Here there is still a little bit of oil. I want the rice to absorb most of the oil. And time to add some chicken stock. I've been keeping mine nice and hot on the hob, and it's important, otherwise the temperature will lower, and you don't want that. Also, if you do not have chicken stock, you can use a chicken stock cube if you like, or vegetable stock cube, or even pork, but I would avoid using beef. That is a totally different type of flavor. Adding a pinch more of oregano, a nice large bay leaf. Everything is beginning to boil. I'll place the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down onto medium-low, and I'll leave it to simmer for a good 10 minutes, but I will not be touching it. I will not be removing the lid. Depending on what sort of rice you're using, it might require more than 10 minutes, but we will take a look in 10 minutes time and then we can take it from there. In the meantime, I've got an oven dish ready to do the tomatoes. So quite simply, just place them inside, drizzle some olive oil, salt and pepper. This is optional, but I fully recommend it. Balsamic vinegar. Drizzle it all over the tomatoes like this. And they're ready to go in the oven at 10 to 12 minutes, 200 degrees. In the meantime, I can go ahead and slice my chicken. Entirely up to you how thick or thin you choose to slice your chicken. In my case, I like them in approximately 1 to 2 centimeter strips, and you can be as gentle or as rough as you like. Also, I've cut some the direction of the meat and some the other way around, so that I get 2 different type of textures. But I'll make them broadly the same size, like this. Great, I'll move them into a bowl ready for later, and I'll show you one on the inside actually while we're there. See, it's perfectly cooked. And one of the advantages of cooking, of course, is that you always have the odd bit of crumb left over. It's lovely, nice and charcoaly as well. I've just checked the rice and I noticed that it was a little bit dry, so I've added another ladle of my stock. So you will have to judge it depending, as I said before, the type of rice you're using, but clearly make sure that you got plenty of liquid beside it so that you can top it up if required. This is halloumi, and apologies if I already mentioned it, I'm not sure if I have. And it's a Greek cheese and it's quite salty, so be careful if you're using halloumi not to put too much salt. And I'm actually chopping it into little cubes, about half a centimeter each piece, like this. You can replace halloumi with feta or even mozzarella, but mozzarella is considerably milder, of course. I mentioned lemon earlier, so I'll squeeze the juice from half a lemon. Back to my rice, so let's take a look. It's looking good, and it's a little bit drier than I would like it to be, so I'm going to add just a tiny little amount of stock. But the rice is cooked and the bay leaf can come out now. It is getting there, but I like mine quite moist, so I'll add a little one. And that is absolutely perfect. I can add the chicken next, followed by the lemon, including any bits that you got left in there. I'll turn the temperature slightly up and I'll mix it for a good couple of minutes so that the chicken gets the same temperature as the rice, but also it infuses the flavors with the rice. And I'm nearly there. All I've got left is a few finishing touches. I'll start with a handful of parsley, a little more olive oil, a fresh couple of bay leaves. The bay leaves will come out again in a couple of minutes, but at the moment I just want everything to be infused, and I'll put the lid on and I'll leave it for a good minute. Halloumi goes in next, and I can just add it all together and I'll mix it in. Cherry tomatoes are just out of the oven and they're done. Look how beautiful they are. They've cooled down for a good minute and they're safe to touch, so remember to remove them from the vine, of course. I'm gonna give my tin a little shake so that they absorb all of the lovely oil at the bottom. And one by one I will add them to the rice so that I can spread them equally. And all of this liquid here, which is absolutely beautiful, I'll make sure that I put it inside as well. And I'm nearly there. I'll finish the garnishing with a few sprigs of rosemary fresh from the garden. One last sprinkle of olive oil, slice of lemon in the middle like so. And the very, very last touch is a bit of lemon zest from that half lemon that I squeezed earlier. Just make sure that you sprinkle it all over. This will add a lovely flavor to the dish. Time to check to see what we have made. A little rice as well. It's delicious. The tomatoes, oh my god, they're wonderful. And everything, the lemon zest as well. Actually, I'll leave you with 3 tips. Tip number 1 is to ensure that you got plenty of stock in case you run out like I did, and you can top it up. Tip number 2, don't put too much salt. This is perfect. I didn't put a lot of salt and the cheese has compensated for it. And tip number 3, add some of your fresh herbs at the end and olive oil, because that is a renewed set of freshness, if you see what I mean, and it really, really enhances the flavor tremendously. It's delicious. It's something that you can eat immediately, or when it's tepid, lukewarm, or even cold, I suppose. Why not? It's delicious. Try it and you will love it. Arrivederci, grazie, and buon appetito as always. Thank you. Ciao.